Hello kids, welcome to the computer lecture. Kids, today we will start with our lesson number 4, which is Unix and Linux operating system. So what is an operating system? The operating system is a set of programs which enables the computer hardware to communicate and operate with the computer software. Without an operating system, a computer is useless. It will not work. So, operating system is a core of all the software in any computer. Without an operating system, the computer cannot access files, installed programs, the internet, and all other important informations stored on a computer system. The examples of operating systems are Windows, Unix, Linux. So here in this lesson, we will read the operating systems Unix and Linux. So what is Unix? Unix is an operating system which was first developed in the 1960s and has been under constant development ever since. It is a stable multi-user multitasking system for servers, desktop and laptops. Unix system also have a GUI, means graphical user interface, similar to Microsoft Windows, which provides an easy to use environment. However, knowledge of Unix is required for operations which are not covered by the graphical program or when there is no Windows interface available. So what are the Unix features of a Unix operating system? So multitasking, first of all it is a multitasking operating system, then after multi-user, system portability and Unix tools. Multitasking means many computers do just one thing at the same time. So Unix provides, or Unix is capable of allowing more than one program or task to run at the same time, such as printing out one file while the user editing another files. This is the major feature of Unix operating system. So next, multi-user. Multi-user operating system means the Unix will allow multiple users to work at the same time and also at different time. Then after, system portability. A major contribution of the Unix system was its portability, means permitting it to move from one brand of the computer to another with a minimum of code changes, making it easier for companies to upgrade in an orderly manner. Portability means from changing from one brand of the computer system to another brand with a minor changes in the coding process. Then Unix tools. The Unix comes with hundreds of programs that can help operate it is in a useful manner. So these are the basic features of a Unix operating system. Next it comes to versions of Unix. So some of the versions of Unix are Sun operating system, then Solaris. Next topic, Linux. So what is Linux? Linux is also an operating system. It is a freely available multitasking, multi-user operating system for computer devices. Linux was placed under General Public License GPL. The system can be distributed, used and expanded free of charge. In this way, developers are able to integrate new functions or eliminate programming errors quickly. The Linux is very similar to other operating systems such as Windows. So, what is Linux kernel? It is the core software that manages your computer hardware and provides a library interface for user level software. The Linux kernel runs on many platforms. Then it comes to GNU or Linux operating system. This is the Linux kernel plus utility software used to provide a useful working environment. Next it comes to Linux distributors. Linux distributor. This is a packaging of Linux kernel and the GNU Linux operating system and lots of other software to make Linux easy to install, configure and use. So some of the Linux distributions names are Red Hat Enterprise Linux, Caldera Linux, SUSE Enterprise Linux and Coral Linux. So these are the Linux distribution names. So we have done with our lesson number 4, which is Unix and Linux operating system. We will end our video here. Thank you. Good morning kids. Welcome to the computer lecture. Kids, in the previous video, we have already learned lesson number 4, chapter 4, which is Unix and Linux operating system. So there we have already discussed what is Unix and what are the uniqueness of the Unix, then what is Linux and the parts of the or the distributions of the Linux operating system. First of all, what is operating system? Operating system is a platform. It is a software which allows we people to interact with the computer system. Without operating system, a computer is useless. Operating system is a software program that enables the user the computer hardware to communicate and operate with the computer software. So there are different types of operating systems are available: Windows, Unix, Linux, all those things. So here in this lecture, in this chapter, we have already discussed Unix and Linux operating system. Here in this video, we will discuss the exercise of lesson number 4, which is Unix and Linux operating system. First of all, kids, what you have to do, copy down all the question answers, including the brief, objective, which includes all the fill-ups, true or false, in the computer notebook. So let us start. First one, fill in the blanks. 1A. Linux is a dash available multitasking and multi-user operating system. Linux is a freely available multitasking and multi-user operating system. What do you mean by multitasking operating system? In multitasking operating system, multiple tasks or the multiple programs can be run in a same time. So here Linux will be one example of multitasking operating system. And what is multi-user operating system? A multi-user operating system which allows multiple users, means more than one user can use the computer system at a same time. So here the Linux is also a multi-user operating system. Next, B1. Linux is very similar to other operating systems such as Windows. Kids, we know Windows is also an example of operating system. We are widely using the Windows operating system nowadays at home, at computer lab, at offices, etc. So Linux is also a similar operating system which is mostly similar to the Windows operating system. Next one. The tools and dash offer additional functionality to the Unix operating system. The tools and the applications offer additional functionality to the Unix operating system. Next, D1. Linux is a freely available multitasking and multi-user operating system. This one we have already discussed in the first one question. So Linux is a freely available multitasking and multi-user operating system. Next one. Linux is only the dash which forms the core of the operating system. The answer will be kernel. Kernel means this is the core software that manages your computer hardware and provides a library interface for the user level software. The Linux kernel runs on many platforms. Next one, find the odd one out. From the options given here, Windows 7, GNU or Linux, then Sun Solaris, the answer will be Windows 7 because Linux, GNU Linux and Sun Solaris all are the examples of Linux and Unix operating system. Here Windows 7 will come. Next one, find the odd one out. From the options, Unix, Caldera Linux and the Red Hat Linux. So Caldera Linux and the Red Hat Linux will be examples of Linux operating system, but here the Unix will be the odd one out. So kids, we have already discussed all the objective question and answers. So in the next video, we will discuss the brief question and answers. Thank you kids. Welcome back kids. In the previous video, we were discussing the exercise of lesson number 4, which is Unix and Linux operating system. There we have already discussed all the fill-ups. So here in this video, we will discuss the brief question and answers one by one. First one, 2A. Name any two versions of Unix operating system. So just like the Windows, how Windows have many versions means Windows 2000, Windows XP, Windows Vista, Windows 8, Windows 7. So these Windows 16. So these are the versions of the Windows operating system. Just like that, Unix is also having number of versions. So any two examples will be Sun operating system, then Solaris operating system. So these are the examples of Sun OS and Solaris will be the two versions of Unix operating system. Next it comes to what is Linux. Linux is a freely available multitasking and multi-user operating system for computer devices. So, what is multitasking? Multitasking means it is an operating system which allows multiple tasks or the multiple programs to run at a same time. What do you mean by multi-user operating system? Multi-user operating system is one where multiple users can use the same computer system at the same time. So Linux is a freely available multitasking and multi-user operating system for computer devices. Then next one, write any 4 names of the popular Linux distributions. A few popular names are Red Hat Enterprise Linux, SUSE Enterprise Linux, Caldera Linux and the Coral Linux. So these are the some of the distributors of the operating system. So Red Hat Enterprise Linux, SUSE Enterprise Linux and Caldera Linux and Coral Linux. So kids, we have already covered all the brief question answers of lesson number 4. I am attaching the same PDF with all these videos. So kids, what you have to do, copy down all the question answers including the brief with all the fill-ups in the computer notebook with the proper numbering and the proper handwriting. So kids, we will end our video here. Thank you.